This is an introduction to Morthland's 8-week intensive Latin. I'm calling it intensive Latin because doing a whole semester of Latin over 8 weeks, which is only half a semester, really is intensive. So I'm doing this introduction to really encourage you guys that you're going to have to buckle down. We do 4 weeks of 3 chapters, and then we do 4 weeks of 2 chapters. That's how we get 20 chapters, or half of Wheelock's Latin, into 8 weeks. So the pace is intense. So the first thing is you have to start on time. You have to have good discipline. In these weeks where we're doing 3 chapters, so you've got 7 days to do 3 chapters. And here's how you should be doing everything. So day 1, you should watch the video lesson. So video lesson for the first chapter you're doing that week. Make your flashcards and study. And what do I mean by flashcards? In case you haven't had me before for Latin, if you haven't had me for Latin 1, this is how I recommend that you do flashcards. So you've got your 3x5 flashcard with the lines. I recommend that you do many words on one flashcard. So this would be the front side of your card, and you'd fill this up with 20 different vocabulary words or 18 vocabulary words, and then on the back you would have the answer, and you would key them to each other by numbering them. That's how I recommend you do cards. Of course, you can do it any way you want, but making the flashcards, writing out the vocabulary, and studying them, I have found to be the most efficient way for students to learn their vocabulary. Again, you got another way, you think it works for you, go for it, but this is what I highly recommend. And then when it comes to verb and noun charts, so again, this is what a noun chart should look like for the 5th declension. This will be one of our first chapters in Latin 2. Put the endings, and obviously you've made flashcards before, you're in Latin 2. I thought I'd just show you quickly how I recommend folks to do them. So back to our schedule. So on day 1 of these first 4 weeks, where you have 3 chapters, you really need to do the video lesson for the first chapter, make your flashcards, and study on the first day. On the second day, you need to do your translation. There'll be a translation always assigned in the video lesson. So video lesson chapter 21, it'll tell you which translations to do. Do your translation, and you want to spend 15 to 20 minutes on each sentence that's assigned. Don't spend more time than that, but do spend that time. Look up the vocabulary you don't know, really work through it, really dedicate yourself. I'm going to spend that much time on each sentence. You'll get the most out of it. Then watch the corrections. So there's a second video with the corrections of the translation. So then you'll have that. That's important because those translations will appear on the quiz in one form or another. It might be parsing the verb, or it might be, question on the quiz might be what's the main verb and parse it in this sentence, what's the nominative that serves as the subject in this sentence. And again, if you didn't have me for Latin 1, you'll learn very quickly in the videos where we go through the translations how I want you to know how to translate a Latin sentence. So I have these steps. First, you find the verb and you parse it. So in this sentence, Filius nautai campum ad silva ad villam aret. Aret is the verb, and then I parse it. It's indicative mood, present tense, active voice, third person singular. It means he, she, or it plows. Then we look, is there something in the nominative to be the subject? Yes, Filius is the subject, the son. Is there a noun in the accusative to serve as the direct object? Yes, it's campum. So now I've got Filius campum aret, the son plows the field. And now we go back through the sentence in order and add the rest of the words, translating them in accordance to their form. So for nouns, you translate it according to case. Dative is the direct object, or translate it with to or for. Genitive we translate with of. Ablative we translate with by, with, or from. we put all those words together. That gives us our translation. That's how I prefer you work through the steps of translation. So again, if you've had me for Latin 1, that's all review. If you didn't have me for Latin 1, you're going to get this every week in the translation video. So you'll have that to work on. Okay, so in these weeks where you're doing 3 chapters, if you follow this schedule, that's going to be days 2, 4, and 6. Right? Because you got 3 lessons to do. So you're going to do this 6 days in a row. You don't really have a day off in this kind of intense Latin. If you're traveling for sports, if you got a bunch of work in other classes, well, you're going to have to double this up. And you easily could do all the work for a chapter in one day. And then that 7th day is going to be a quiz. You cannot afford to fall behind. Likewise, just college policy at Northland is if you're late in one of these online classes, if you're late doing a week closes and you haven't done the quiz for the week, you'll get an email notification. The administration will get an email notification. If you fall farther behind than 1 week, that could impact athletic eligibility and other things. So you have to stay on track, and I just cannot stress enough, there's a lot of work. This is a very intense class. So get right after on the first day and work hard, and I'm sure you'll do well. If you need anything, holler, and I will endeavor to give you what help I can.